Happy New Year.
Our buddy Jimmy's here. How you doing, Jimmy? I feel like because this is a BDM show, I don't even need to give you the proper radio introduction.
It's our buddy.
I say Jim Colbert from the Jim Colbert Show.
How's my standing with the BDMs? Am I in a good place?
Oh, yeah.
Am I in a
they
good
love
space
you.
with the guys?
Yeah.
I never really know.
No, they love you.
They're
They
always
love
asking
you,
when you're going
but
to be
you're
on the
busy,
show.
and you moved away, and it was like
I just want to make sure because I don't know.
Well, Tom has built up this whole lore of how rich you are, and you
His
don't
house
have
is
any
pretty
time
awesome.
for us anymore.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
I've been
You're the real
trying
big
to
dick millionaire.
I tell him
I've
about
been
your
trying-
house. It's awesome. He's got an infinity pool that rolls into
Stop
a swamp.
it.
I know, I've seen it.
It's awesome.
I want to throw
I hear all
bones
these
back there.
tales.
It's Sam.
Stop
It's
it.
awesome.
Did they tell you how I want to throw bones into your
Oh,
swamp?
don't talk about it. He's
Yeah,
setting you up.
Did
by
your
the way.
listeners?
I could buy human bones
Did
and
they
throw
say
them into
that?
your
Did
swamp.
they rat us out on
We've
that?
been saying this on ACT, and I know. Look, I know you're busy. I know you don't listen. Don't even pretend like you do.
Yeah,
and
don't.
if I were,
I wouldn't listen.
Yeah, I wouldn't listen to it either. But he's been wanting to put bones, and he told me
Plant-
he's like.
Like
He
it's a
wants to
bog in
plant
England.
human bones
Yeah.
on your property.
He told me
and then
like,
call the cops.
He said if I give you,
And
How
leave an
funny would that
anonymous
be?
tip.
he
about
told me
you.
he's like if I give you an infant skull.
Oh my God!
Well, he said.
I mean,
He's like, if I
skull.
give you an infant
I didn't
skull.
kill it.
Who even says those two words in a
He
sentence
says-
in their entire
You can buy it
life?
online.
He told me if I give you an infant skull, and he was gonna hide it in a regular red and white stocking. You put it in the toe like an orange.
All right.
And then
And then call the
Jimmy.
cops and say
And then-
it smells like a rotten pizza.
yeah,
there's
it smells like a goddamn dead body in here, and then frame
There's
you.
like an ongoing thing with this. This is a thing.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it
Hide
started
the boats.
a couple months ago when I was
Instead of
like,
hide a Duke, now it's hide a boat. They stepped it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hide the
Yeah.
boats on
So-
in Jimmy's mansion.
Jimmy.
Which my car freaked out. My car was driving me out there. It didn't know where it was. It's like, I can't complete this drive.
yeah. Once you get out in the sticks, yeah.
It's awesome.
your
though.
car
No
just
man's
gave
land.
up.
Yeah.
It did. And then the last time,
You're on
and,
your
and I
own.
have to always say
Yeah.
this because the listeners enjoy this. The last time I was in what I refer to them as Marrow's Woods.
Oh.
Those were the woods that I made out with a girl with Dorito breath.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we were hot and heavy in the woods.
Come on.
And then I could have fingered her, but I left.
Yeah. Once you get out there, your GPS just shows
Yeah.
a Trump flag.
What are we gonna win?
MAGA
It's like,
country.
that's-
Yeah.
Yeah, one more time. Let's get the dictator rolling.
So, Jimmy, I was thinking about this before you came in. How many years have you been waking up and
Oof.
going to a radio station and doing live
You
radio
trying to make
every
him
day?
mad? You trying to make him mad?
No. I'm just because that is
Look at his face. You made him mad.
No, because if you think about it, like we've gotten to a point now where it's so many years that it's crazy
He's
to
done
think
it
about.
more than he hasn't done it, you
Yeah,
think?
well, like a human being, you have listeners, and there's listeners who listen throughout the whole time, and it's just listen to Jimmy on the radio talk every single day, and
Some
that's
people
bizarre.
need it.
It's but yeah, you're
Like
used,
if they
used
don't
to
have
hearing,
their Jimmy,
yeah.
then they're out of balance.
And it's unique because most radio people have to move city to city. You know, they never stay in one city for how long?
Yeah, it's an anomaly. Sam is right. I've actually been doing radio longer than I haven't been doing radio.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I've been on the air for 30 years. This past
Wow.
This past June, they actually went back and found our start date, and that was just. I think that was when we were like the weekend morning show is when we finally started actually kind of getting a little money for doing it, like a salary from, at that time it was Paxson Broadcasting, I believe.
Okay,
Press.
yeah.
Or Clear Channel,
Or
whatever.
was it
but-
press? It
What
was press.
year?
Press, that's it.
It was press broadcasting.
like early 90s?
93.
93.
We started in 1993.
God
Wow.
damn.
Wow.
That's nuts.
So, been doing, and the funny thing is
7 years old.
that really, that I don't really think
You
about
didn't
that.
have pubes.
But it is weird.
Or titties.
Almost inevitably this time of year, every year, almost the week before
You
I
probably
go
did
in
have titties.
Come on.
for the Christmas kind of last part of the broadcast year,
Yeah.
that as I'm in the elevator, as that thing's opening, it'll hit me. Like, damn, dude, you've been coming to this building for more than half your life to broadcast. Well, not that building particularly, but going in on this show and doing a radio show for 30 years.
That
But
is
other
crazy,
than that, I don't
man.
really think about it much. It's just my career. I get up and go to work like anybody else.
Yeah, no, but you know, it's weird because obviously, we work with you and we were in it and like we saw the inner workings
Like
of the radio
old
business.
war buddies.
But it's funny you're making a career out of a job that at any moment things can change, right?
Yeah.
It's like
True,
some people
yeah.
like my buddy who's a firefighter, right? He's gonna make his career out of being a firefighter, right? And really he's never worried about going into work and all of a sudden they're like, you gotta go. You're no longer a
Don't need
firefighter.
you.
No more fires.
I mean, it would-
that
yeah,
last
it would
fire
be-
you
yeah.
fought, that's the
It
last
would
one.
be
one.
the equivalent of like, I'm sorry if there's no more fire.
Yeah.
So
So,
it's gone.
We
now.
solved it.
Yeah.
so you can kind of plan, you're like, all right, this is my job. I'm going to work hard at it, but it's not going to change unless I change. But in radio, it can change at any time.
Well, the
It-
demand for what we say, the trends for
Yeah.
what we're talking about, the trends for your attitude, those are all things that are not
Let me hit you with
finite.
a unique perspective of how I've looked at this for so many years.
Yeah, it is unique.
when it comes to like what you're just saying, and you're right. Radio is a very fickle business. Tomorrow, to be honest with you, we could find out. Hey, look, we're flipping formats. This doesn't seem to be profitable anymore. Blah 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 blah. That could happen. It could happen today.
We've talked about it when we worked together. about,
Legit.
It's happening today. We brought you here because it's happening today.
That could happen today. But here's how I look at it, and this is going to sound a little arrogant, but I'll say it.
Yeah.
All right,
Ooh, I
I've
like
said this for
arrogant.
years. I'm probably costing myself $100,000 a year not doing sales.
Yeah.
With my personality and the ability to kind of engage people and make people laugh, I read a lot, so I'm able to have conversations in a lot of different spaces, whether it be with PhDs, whether it be with construction workers, because I come from humble beginnings. I'm familiar with the blue collar lifestyle. That's what I live. That's what my life was, and my family's life as we speak right now.
Yeah.
90% of them are blue collar workers, so I'm able to kind of bridge that gap. And I've said it for years. I've told my people as I negotiate my contracts, I am literally probably costing myself $100K a year not selling something, because again, it's just the confidence I have that I know how to make relationships with people, and it's not disingenuous because I don't waste my time on idiots. So it's just I make my space in areas where I know I can be effective, and when I do that, I surround myself with people who are like-minded, and then we go out and achieve goals. Now, with the radio show, it's different because my perspective is what I'm selling. But if I had a product or a service that I believed in 100%, there's zero question within 8 months I'd be the number one guy in the state doing that, because I just believe I don't engage myself in things that I don't buy into. Yeah, and that's a tough. And I'll give you where that's a real interesting space too. As a Republican with Donald Trump, has been a really interesting space for me to negotiate because I'm a voting Republican. My vote as a Republican counts as many as anybody else's. You can cover yourself in MAGA stuff, and your vote doesn't mean any more than mine. So I've had an interesting space there because I don't roll with that cat. So I've had to negotiate things like that my entire life, and I've done it successfully. So I believe I can apply that in the open free market and do quite well.
I'm glad we got into politics.
Yeah, man.
'Cause what do you,
I don't
what
want to
do
get into
yeah.
any more
What do
politics.
you
I'm
think
just trying to draw
about
a parallel.
Gaza?
Yeah. Oh my God.
What is
Yeah.
that?
Let me jump up.
I didn't want to go there,
Yeah,
but
well,
since we're
here we
there,
are.
Yeah, just trying to draw a parallel. I don't want to talk
Yeah.
politics either.
My
I don't
God.
talk about my show for a reason because you can't win.
You want me to
And
give you a tonguey smile? That's what we know.
What's the, you're supposed to recite the poem. What is that? From the land to the sea,
Well,
one
yeah.
day they'll all be free.
Yeah,
Or something. You
get outta
say it
here.
all, then everybody, yeah,
Stop.
yeah.
Where's my boots?
Yeah, you're supposed to.
We don't talk about any of that stuff.
So no, well, why? Like, have you thought ever about? Okay. Hey, if I can make 100, like, because you're right, Jimmy. You would be, what, like, even radio sales and stuff. Like, some of the people we've met and seen throughout the years are like, they're making $200,000-300,000 a year. Like, we're killing it. You know?
Well,
And
but they look miserable though.
Yeah.
A lot of them, like there's one in
Listen.
particular that, like, a lot of the top tier salespeople were just mean ass bitches. Like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, without
Yeah.
going- but they're just-
300,000.
Yeah, I know, but I would see
whatever.
them out. I'm standing next to them. We're both at Disney.
Gotta
We're
be a
both
mean-ass
sitting there.
bitch.
We're both standing there. This person is standing next to their loved one. We're both watching, I don't know, some band. Who's the band that, like, we're watching Imagine Dragons on the Epcot stage, and they're like, let's get the F out of here. I'm
That's
worth
great.
so much money.
Who are these hacks anyway?
So grumpy.
So, have you, like, why don't you just do sales? Because you
because
like
I work
the
4 hours a day and I get
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean,
You
But
have
you
the
like
look-
it though too.
You have the look of an old salesman.
Look, I didn't say I have to put it in the same effort. All I'm saying is I have to work a lot harder. But but I've done that. So I this situation here is ideal. Why? I mean, I wouldn't sacrifice this for a little bit more money because of the for one thing is the time I put in it to kind of get good at it, and then secondly because I worked so hard to get this position I'm in now.
Well, let's be honest, too. I want to give you some flowers because it's not like he doesn't not do sales. I would imagine that in fact, I think you do it now and you did it when you were at the radio station. You guys are like hybrids where you work on the air, but you're also going on sales calls. You're also sealing the deal. You're also closing it out when the person's on the fence about whether or not they want to advertise with Jim Colbert. Or same here.
And
you're on the air, and then who knows sales better?
And Daniel,
you're the sales guy.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, Daniel, you're 1,000% right. And can I tell you, this is going to
I
sound...
know I am. I'm
gonna
always 1,000%. They call me 1,000% Danny.
But the interesting part of that statement is the fact of how much I enjoy doing that. Like, a lot of people in my position don't enjoy...
Tom, that's how Tom became, honestly, he was making more money than some hosts there at the
Well,
time.
also, think about this, too. In the day, I had to compete with you. I had to compete with you. I had to compete with Bubba and Savannah and all those people who had giant personalities who were
and
beloved.
Advocates, too. They had advocates, too.
I was the bad guy, and I was trying to get my space in there. When I found out that they wouldn't give any more money contractually, I said, well, let's flip the switch then. Let's become the most profitable endorser on the air. And that's exactly what I did. I went out and I became the most valuable endorser in TKS's, well, I can't say history. Phillips is pretty big, but I'm one of the best that's ever done it in that building. And exactly what Daniel said. I'm the one going to people's birthday parties in Ormond Beach. I'm the one going to, I'm the one who knows.
schmoozing.
I know who your kids are. I know where they go to school. I know what car
That's
they
what
like.
Tom lacks
creepy.
there.
Spend time with-
I don't do any of that.
He didn't even show up to my wedding.
I just promised them the world.
and never follow through.
Then eventually,
Overpromise, underdeliver.
And then he eventually gives them a straw hat that's falling apart.
Yeah.
And that's coming from 1,000% Daddy. I know where your kids are.
And sometimes once you get in the system and just keep billing them, they just pay the bills. And they
Or
forget about
they
it.
don't and delete their Facebook.
Oh,
All day.
too real.
Too soon.
What have you guys been doing? What are you doing?
We
What
don't
are
know.
How
We don't
dare
know
you.
what we're
What are
doing.
you guys doing
We
in
don't know what we're doing.
Do you guys
We have no exit plan. We don't know where this thing is going. We're terrified.
Do you guys have any idea? Like,
Help.
No.
are you like me when it comes to the year flipping? People are like, "What are you doing for 2024?" I'm like, "I'm giving you the same exact thing I gave you 2023 because it worked." Do you guys look at it like that, or do you guys kind of like revamp? I know there's a few things I'm doing, but nothing like structurally different.
I'm out of things to say.
Stop.
I've said it all. I've said everything I need to say. How many times do I have to tell you guys that squirt is pee? How many times? I've got a couple of things left to do. Check off the list.
We've
and then,
gotten rid of Shark Week this year.
Oh, did you?
We're done.
What do you think about
No.
that?
I think
What do you think about
Tom
that?
said it was the last year.
I want to get rid of it.
Bring it back.
I want to
All
get rid of it, and I want to do Pistoberfest.
Well, come on.
I want to do Pistoberfest.
Jimmy,
I think it'd be better.
This goes along with what you were talking about, where in the fact that you've been on the air in this town for
Successfully on the air,
30
not just on the
goddamn
air.
years,
There's been
Jim.
plenty of people that are on the air. I'm looking at you, PRK guys, you college radio guys. I've been on the air for 20 years. Nobody's listening to you.
Jim Colbert show. How long is? How many years?
5 years.
5 years. So even,
Actually, last Monday, I believe, was the 5-year anniversary. Started in
congratulations.
2006. I appreciate that.
So
That's awesome.
So even like, where you're looking at like 5 years of the Jim Colbert show, like people just get used to listening to you every single day, and then same thing for us and whatever. And you have your, I guess your P1s as they call it in the radio industry.
I don't like that term. It doesn't make any sense. It's like penis one.
Right.
Yeah, or BDMs, and then
I don't like that one either.
The people who listen all the time.
Yeah, and they just get
Regulars.
used to listening to you. And what's interesting is like I think that in retrospect, looking back at like even radio in general and ratings and stuff, like there's probably been shows that have been taken off the air because of their ratings were bad or they flipped or whatever, that they could have been doing business for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the only reason they were even taken off the air was because of, ratings or whatever. Right. And like, or like how
there's the opposite too. There's been the one that's been the blowtorch that's like selling crazy.
Yeah.
And then for whatever, there's some politics where they don't like the guy and they get rid of him, but he's billing. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, one of the biggest lessons I learned about this business was really early, and I was very lucky to learn it. And the lesson was this, right? So it doesn't really matter if you're number one. It doesn't really matter that. And I'll tell you why. There was a girl that used to broadcast on our station years and years ago named Erin Summers, right? She did a thing called Passion Phones. And because she broadcast outside of that, what's that time, Daniel?
Safe Harbor.
Safe Harbor time. It was 10 o'clock. Her show came on at 10 o'clock. She was able to get away with some pretty racy content. I mean, really racy Penthouse Forum kind of stuff, including the language and descriptions of sexual acts and stuff.
Cunnilingus.
Right, all that stuff. Guess what?
Hey.
How highly do you think her show was rated?
It was the highest, wasn't it?
38 shares. And just so you know, in our world,
I don't know what that means.
like yeah,
I don't
30
like
out of 100.
like a 10 share in our world is gigantic,
Yeah.
right?
Oh.
She was like 38 share. Guess who her advertisers were? Pawn shops and rubber companies. You can
Yeah.
only get so much money out of pawn shops and condom companies. Nobody else would touch it. And it had nothing to do with anything other than they can't be associated with that content.
Oh.
And so I've learned that really early. Now, you could also take on models where you have okay ratings, but you have a very, very passionate audience, and they spend enough money to make you viable. It kind of makes you unfireable, because the most coveted thing to the radio station, ratings are good for sure, but steady customers are way better.
Yeah, the marketing of it is,
Right.
that's what we found in throughout the years is like if our BDMs support our sponsors,
Right.
then we could continue to be in business.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's as simple as that.
It's
It's
simple,
like,
super simple
and,
stuff, right?
We can continue to work if the BDMs just use Modern Plumbing and American Air.
But when
and
it
all our
stops,
sponsors.
oh man.
and then
It'll be hard.
that's when it
Yeah.
stops.
And the funny thing is that I think the most ridiculous and unimportant moot number is your ratings number, because the system to collect those numbers is so unbelievably flawed.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the fact that we are in 2023, Daniel drives an electric car, I drive an electric car, technology is exponentially increasing, but yet the best way that we can gather information is basically you wear a beeper. And if the beeper guy moves out of the area, I lose ratings. Now, it's funny. The year before, you could be number one across the board. And then when the year flips and they switch those meters and they go to somebody who's maybe a Roomba fan or maybe a 1019 fan, I'm F.
Yeah.
Same audience. Trust me, they're still there because they're still buying stuff, but the ratings say, oh my God, you're falling to number 2 or 3. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean, what are we doing? You know the deal. It's full of horse shit. That's what it is.
Well,
sometimes
they know, but Jimmy, I've taught.
they do know.
They know.
I've
I tell them all the time.
and they acknowledge it and
Sure.
understand.
But once
so,
you're in
like,
the system, you
But
have to act.
that's exactly the case,
You're
Daniel.
in. You know,
You're
like
playing the game everybody else
Yeah.
is playing, so you can't bitch about it.
No.
Because you can be destroying. They go from number 1 to number 8. And look at the person and you go, people just didn't go, I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like
yeah,
that,
yeah.
especially with our station. People just don't really do that.
Yeah.
They latch on to one of these shows and they love it.
Yeah, and you see the listener, especially now every day with like live streams and podcast downloads and like in just social media. They're listening every day, the same listeners,
That's right.
and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, your ratings are down.
No, they're not.
And then you're like, what do you mean the same listeners are there? Like, who's not there? Like, we're all still here. Like,
It's the leverage the reps use against the clients, and it's the same thing. It's it's like this week you get the ball, so you can go to the clients and go, hey, we got the ball this week. You might want to hop on board, but because they know for sure it might not be there next week or the week after that. We've seen stations go from 22 to number 1 and then back down to number 18 in a 2-book swing. That's it, because that meter moved into town, loved it, listened to it 24 hours a day, and then moved out.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens. And we have a transient society to begin with here.
A lot of hobos.
A lot of hobos, Dan.
A
lot of
train riding hobos.
We got to start tricking them into walking into traffic. Like we got to start,
Stop it.
like pits. Just dig holes and push them in there.
So, Jimmy, let's talk about your houses. For
Oh,
a
my
second.
God.
Because,
Yes.
No, because
This is where this starts. This is where you start this perpetual myth of me being so wealthy.
No, because
You
I
used to be a slumlord.
right?
Didn't you? You and your
Did he give up the
father-in-law.
slumlord business?
You and your father-in-law, who I saw over
I
the
went to
weekend.
Jimmy's rental
He's
properties
awesome.
with he
What
had a
was-
gun.
What was
Yeah,
that
you had a
like?
gun.
Tell us
Yeah, what
everything.
happened
No,
when
no.
you were a gun-toting guy? Now you're like a hipster. You got cool
Listen,
boots on.
Do you not think I have a good...
Look how skinny he is. Look how good he looks.
What are
I
the
know.
chances do you think I'm
You look
packing
healthy.
right now?
You got like
I hope you are.
Look at this guy's super healthy. He's packing a gun. He's wearing like $600 fancy boots. Looks like a hipster.
So, because this is valuable advice, I feel like to
I
people,
miss shooting Jimmy.
especially people in their 30s or maybe like
Right.
in their first house or whatever. Because I saw Jimmy do this.
Man, you set
and
yourself up right.
And I think everybody could do this. The only thing
Not
stopping
now.
people,
No, not now.
is
Nobody can buy anything now.
no, but the only thing stopping people is the hard work that
That's
Jimmy
right.
did every single. I watched him fucking work on his
Oh, my
houses
God.
every.
He'd leave the station
year.
and he'd be dressed
So,
like a painter.
is 100% true. I would leave the radio station
Yeah.
on Fridays and drive to my rental houses in DeLand.
Oh, it looked terrible.
And put up siding or whatever it took to get that day's job done.
Yeah.
And then my father-in-law would hit it on Saturday and Sundays, and then back to work. We'd be there all day. And buddy, let me tell you, we started them in August. Every single time we built one, it was in the summer, and it was murder.
Yeah, no, I remember
It
you
was
the
murder.
insane amount of work, but even besides from
While
your
he was
rental
still
properties,
able-bodied.
yeah.
That's right, buddy.
Like the house you lived, you've always and by watching you do this, I wish I would have done it, but just I'm too lazy to do all this work in your house and then move to a new one and then start over
He
again.
does it. He always upgrades.
No, I
Jimmy
know.
always upgrades.
Yeah, but you're able to once you put in the work and redo your house.
Yeah.
And okay, let's start
And
with
he goes all over the place,
your
man.
original house was near my house,
The blue one, right?
Yeah. And then I watched you systematically redo
That wasn't
house.
even the original one. I remember another house you had
Yeah, it was the one before that, yeah.
over near Lee Road
Yeah,
area,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you just constantly redid the house, then you upgraded to a new one, then redid that one,
Yeah.
and then when it was all done, like you made it perfect. And
Everything.
I used to we used to laugh and be like, hey, Jimmy just finished it, and
Yeah.
he's moving again.
He'd put
Start
like
over.
the last cornerstone
Yeah.
brick in and then
Then-
sell it for a heap.
But
and then
this-
get
You never
the
thought
hell
about
out.
that equity I was getting, not once, huh?
Well, no, I thought, but I was just like, oh,
Well,
it's a
what you
pain
do
in the ass.
with a younger mind, right? I'm seriously like with kind of
Yeah.
like a kid's mind. I always do that. I'm like, why is he moving? It's like, well, of course he's investing in another
like,
bigger, better thing.
It's so hard. Like we redid all of the entire inside of our house, and once we're done, I looked around. I'm like, I'm dying in here because it was so hard. I didn't think about like,
Exact
let me
opposite.
sell it for a huge profit and start over
Yeah.
again. It was such a pain in the ass. So anyway,
So here was my goal from the beginning. So there's two ways you can invest, right? You can put your money in the market. I didn't know the market that well, and I still really don't know the market all that well. I know, blue chippers. I know kind of where to go, but I don't know how to find those secrets, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm too conservative when it comes to my money. I don't like to put it where I don't 100% know that I can trust where it is. But I do know what real estate is, and I do know that we live in Florida, and it is one of the number one places to live in the nation. So what we started doing, the goal is to buy a house, live in, rebuild it, live into it, or live in it for 4, 5, 6 years, whatever. When the equity looked good, we'd sell it, take 100% of that money and upgrade. And location is everything. Don't let anybody tell you anything other than that, because if you look at where all these homes are, these homes made money because of where they were. Now, the blue house and the house after that were a divorce scenario, but even then, I made sure that I bought the right house, the one that's next to Code Black. Or
Yeah,
Sean,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that house we actually did very well on as well, because we came in, we did some real structural cool stuff that made the house awesome, put it in a new kitchen, and then found the house on the lake. That was the key. That house we found on the lake over there in Maitland, Lake House. You guys remember how cool that house was, right? Like one of the coolest houses ever.
riding jetpacks,
Oh, yeah,
riding my
yeah.
jet
God,
skis
that's
back
a great
there.
house.
It-
a lot of memories of that house.
Really cool house. Did a lot of really hard work on that house, right?
Yeah. No, I remember every day it was always
Right,
you working
yeah.
on the house, working
Work,
on
right, yeah.
But it was
So-
just nonstop.
Right, it was nonstop, and it was miserable because thank God I didn't have 4 kids to raise at the same time. So then we sell that house, make a pretty good knot on that house, and then buy in Baldwin. And we bought in Baldwin. We got really lucky because we found a guy that was dying to get out of his deal.
Oh, I thought you found a dying
But
guy.
no.
Those are the best ones when you find a real dying guy.
It was a UPS. It was
Yeah.
a
Give you
UPS.
all the
You
riches.
know who's doing that right now? Katy Perry did that. Katy
Oh, yeah,
Perry's
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to fuck this guy in
Oh,
his
she
house. I
not
love
trying.
it.
She won.
Oh, yeah, she did
yeah.
win. She said, fuck you, old man, die.
So we found this house in Baldwin over here, the townhouse,
Yeah.
and got it from a UPS executive who was dying to sell it because he just built this like compound up in South Carolina. So we came in with a lowball offer and could not believe it when they took it. Could not believe it. Moved in, did a few things. Baldwin's pretty solid. You don't have to do anything good, but we just waited and waited and waited, and then sold, bought the house out where we are now in a very desirable, one-of-a-kind neighborhood in the best county in Florida, which is Seminole County. Best for education, best for the environment, a wonderful place to live, and we live in the most exclusive neighborhood in that area. Not because
That's Seminole County?
Yeah.
Well, goddamn, how
It's-
big is
it's
Seminole
right-
County?
yeah,
I live
it's
in
pretty
Seminole
big.
County.
Right on-
Sounds like he's about to run for office.
I
doesn't
can
it?
go to Volusia pretty quick, but up there, and it's not because it's affluent to the point where it's affluent. There are some very wealthy people in my neighborhood, but really what it is it's the community is 5-acre lots, and nobody messes with you. People move into that neighborhood to disappear, so it's extremely desirable for people who come from up north. Matter of fact, we regularly get email from a realtor who does business in that neighborhood exclusively, saying, "Hey, look, I've got a guy with this giant amount of money. He's dying to be in the neighborhood. Are you willing to sell?" Like, we don't even have to worry about selling our house. They're coming to us.
Yeah.
So that's
the way
so
to do
here's
it.
the point. The next move is the last one.
Is
Right,
it?
so but no, I know
Yeah,
what
he's already
Sam,
planning it. I don't want to
So
blow up
Sam-
your
No, but
spot,
is it the last one?
I was getting some intel. I'm not going to blow up your spot,
So
but I was
Sam-
getting some intel at the party, and it's already it's already happening.
The idea
Well,
is
there's only so much time, Sam.
TC is
Well,
right.
I wasn't gonna ask
Eventually,
his age.
eventually, everything's your last one.
Eventually.
And you've been looking like it for a long time.
The plan was to do a major renovation on this house because of where it was, and then
Yeah.
and then just sit and wait for the equity to go crazy. It's in that process right now. Once we sell this house, the next property we buy, we will pay for in cash, and we will have no mortgage. It's all done, and that was all by design, by the way. And this is all going to happen by the time I was 60. I said no mortgage by 60. There's only a couple ways to do it. You buy one house, you pay on it for a long time, and you just live with that house, or you find the place you really want. You move into a place you maybe don't like so much. And I wasn't in love with this house, but I knew its potential. We move in, we do our thing. Daniel will tell you.
Yeah.
You know,
and if you live in there for
it's
2
rad.
years, when you sell, you
Yeah.
don't pay capital gains on anything you make. So
Yeah, but-
as long as you live in the house for 2 years, people should do this more.
and,
you know?
and this
Well, you
is
got to
the-
have the money to
Yeah,
start.
I mean,
Well,
you also
once
got to work. You got to like work.
Right, you're right. But once you buy that first house, Sam, that is one of the biggest misconceptions, because once you buy that first house, if you make a good decision on where it is, and you put in the work like Daniel's saying, that sets the tone for the equity, and then you just upgrade. And by the way, I lived out of my comfort zone for a while doing this. So I lived financially out of my comfort zone twice doing this, paying way too much money for a house that we really couldn't afford at the time, wanting to maintain our lifestyle.
Right.
That's another key thing. Is people need to learn how to sacrifice when they want what they want. They really know what they want. They got to be willing to not go out to dinner that 2 times a month, or buy that thing they think they deserve. They talk themselves into this, and people are able to rationalize these really irrational
I
decisions
deserve a
financially.
Chick-fil-A peppermint milkshake.
But those are simple things that people have been told for years. They just maybe a little lazy, or they don't believe it can happen for them, but it can happen to anybody. I'm just a high school idiot from Palatka.
Yeah, but also, Jimmy, you're willing to put in the hard ass work, and that's a
Well, he's
lot
dedicated
of
to it.
Yeah, because
It's like a lot
yeah.
of like, that's a lot of self-control of just like getting done with the show, and rather than saying, well, I'd rather just go home and just sit in my chair for a
Right.
minute. But nope, I'm going to drive this truck all the way to this house and fix that thing I need to do, and I'll see my wife and kids at 7.
just a redo,
No big deal.
just constantly redoing things, and but yeah, it's good advice for people to follow if they're able to do it, especially if you can start learning. And I saw Jimmy learn to work on the house. Like I saw when he learned
Learning
with his
skills,
father-in-law.
oh yeah.
I'm gonna tell you where I
learning drywall, learning like I remember when Jimmy learned how to do baseboards for the first time, which is pretty easy, even though I can't do
I was
it.
going to say, I think you
But
fucked
you
up
always
parts of the
say,
studio.
you always say how easy it is, but you always call Jimmy to do them.
Well, let me tell you. I'll tell you another thing. Joe.
I don't understand that, but I go with you every time.
I
I
missed it.
I agree.
We missed out on about $1 million by not paying attention to what I just said. When we moved into Baldwin, my wife and I realized this was going to be a major hub in Central Florida. It was already the hippest place in Central Florida, and it is by far now the hippest place in Orlando is Corinne Drive in the Milk, right?
Oh.
It's not even
Yeah, people love it.
arguable. Even the
Yeah.
people on Winter Park or Park Ave could never argue that. They're swanky, but they're not hip, because you
Right,
can't be
right.
hip and be that rich, right?
Yeah,
Fancy and hip are completely different.
So with that said, where Daniel lived in Audubon Park and those little 2-1
that's my
bungalows,
favorite house.
all those little areas that 10 blocks of land over there, we had the opportunity to buy 3 houses in
Oh,
there.
my God.
At virtually no money, $150,000 to $180,000 a piece, and we passed because we couldn't believe that we could put the money into it and it would come back to us. And each one of those houses right now
Oh, my
is
God.
selling for $650,000.
Yeah.
We left $1 million on the table by simply not making the move that we.
So
even-
he's a gambler too, just in a different way.
it's a
Yeah.
little bit of a gamble,
Yeah.
but I'm gambling on something.
It's
I'm gambling on
completely
real estate in
different.
Florida.
Not really. I mean, he gambled on the house he bought here. He could have gambled and bought the ones in the Milk District. He passed on it. He missed out on that money.
Missed out on that money. So, but we did do well, but not like that well. That would have been like that would. Cause those people are charging like $3,200 a month for rent in
Yeah,
those
yeah.
blocks.
It's nuts.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
I got to tell you guys. Like I've seen some pretty crazy real estate thing. What's happening in Audubon Park right now? It's not criminal. But I mean, when you
Yeah.
look at it, those people were buying those houses. And I passed by them. I'm like, why are they buying these 2-bedroom houses where the bedrooms are like 9 by 10, not desirable? The bathrooms are small, the kitchens are small.
Mine was a 990.
It's the culture.
Yeah.
It's the culture.
990.
It's like Apple, right? They want to live in that neighborhood because it's the coolest thing you can do.
And I got
place
friends. I've got some friends that are, your blue collar punk rock guys that got priced out, and I got some friends that are blue collar punk rock guys that just love it here so much that they'll just work extra jobs to still live, like you said, in the area that they want to live.
Orlando's growing so fast. The next movement is rural, kind of like where I am, and I'll tell you how you can tell that. When you go on the 429 corridor out in Lake County, Sorrento, Mount Plymouth, north of Popka, and those areas there, go look at the price of property out there. And then prepare yourself accordingly, buddy, because for what you could have gotten in Sorrento pre-429 when they built the road out there, they were charging $25 an acre out there, right? Now it's like you could go out there to get 2 acres in a relatively good spot. It's going to cost you $600.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Because the 429 puts you in downtown Orlando in 30 minutes. Nobody cares about tolls. That's a joke. That's ancillary money. Nobody, that drive, we're looking, you can look at a place out in Lake County now and easily get into downtown Orlando in the business hub in no time.
The name of the show is Location. Yeah,
that's right.
Just so you know.
I didn't mean to take the program.
No, that's why you're here. We want you to take the program. We
Teach us
never
how to
get
be
you.
rich.
Hold on, you never get you. I'm going to give Jimmy an alarm. I missed you. It's good
but listen,
to have you here.
every time I see one of these properties that your wife sells with Bart, right? I go, man, that's awesome. Those young people in there getting themselves a home and beginning their wealth, building equity in a house in Central Florida where people are flocking to this area, and it's not going to stop.
Did you notice that you got so excited about this, and the three of us, because we haven't invested like you, got very, very depressed?
Well,
Did you notice that? Did you notice that?
I put all my money in NFTs 2 years
Good
ago.
job.
I know.
I'm going to start taking advice from Jimmy.
And I'm waiting. They're going to blow back up.
I heard you get the Bored Ape with the Jordans.
I got a digital Mona Lisa.
I have a purple. It's a purple gorilla holding a Red Bull can.
Where are all our digital hot dogs?
Oh, I've got 400 digital hot dogs that I'm just waiting.
I got that one guy. I got that one guy with a gorilla smoking a joint.
Oh my God! Let's talk about the you glossed over it,
Oh,
but
God.
let's talk about the electric car.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Daniel told me.
You want to hear a nightmare?
he didn't believe it.
Oh, Daniel.
He doesn't believe
I was
me.
like, this doesn't make any sense. He's
He
like,
goes, Jimmy wouldn't do that. I go, all right, well, wait till he comes in.
I love all this credit I
Because
get.
I'm like, what should we talk to Jimmy about? And Daniel's like, well, he drove his electric Mustang to Missouri.
I didn't even know they made
And then I'm like, no, he
Mustangs.
didn't. I'm like, it's not. The electric car's not made for cross country journeys. How would he do that for?
Ding, ding, ding. Give him the horn.
I have tears.
Why,
in my eyes.
Jimmy?
Okay, so here's the deal.
Yeah.
So we've got my little Ford Ranger pickup truck, and we have a Mustang Mach-E. It's the Route 1 model, which they are now discontinuing, right? So we bought this thing. It's got a 320-mile range. We're like,
That's really good.
We're like, wow, man. Well, if we plan it out right, there's no reason we shouldn't be able to take this car on the road. And then we found out there are plenty of reasons we should not have taken this car on the road. One, it's not a Tesla, and I don't have access to the charging stations that Tesla.
superchargers.
Now, that's happening in like March, April, May of
Yeah,
next
they're
year.
going to roll that out.
Right. So Tesla's basically made a deal with everybody out there to co-op. Ford.
But then it's fucked me because what used to be exclusive to me, where I could just get charging, now I got everybody with their Mach-E, everybody with
their
their
Audis, their Mercedes, all these.
all of them. So I'll just charge at home.
I thought all charging stations were universal.
No, they are not.
Okay.
And guess who knows that? Jim knows now because Jim
I like when you speak in third
because
person.
Jim was sitting behind a Wells Fargo in Hialeah, Mississippi, getting a charge, waiting to be killed. Because here's
It
the
was
beautiful
Mississippi.
thing.
Behind Wells Fargo.
Let me tell you, Woody, but I got one behind a Dunkin' Donuts. There was one, I had to pull into almost a half a parking garage in the Capitol in Tallahassee to sneak a free charge because guess what? There are no other charging stations within 10 miles that they can guarantee are open. That's what the trick is. You're like, yeah, there are plenty of charging stations. Pull on up. And then you pull on up, and it's one charging station isn't working. One guy is asleep in his car while his is charging, and there's nothing else for 40 miles. So what you have to do is when you choose how far you think you can go, you have to go, okay, theoretically we can go this many miles, and then we have to start searching, and we have to save 40 miles just in case we get it.
This is giving me anxiety just hearing it.
Now listen, with Tesla,
holy smokes! Oh my God!
But
Did
Tesla,
you look online? Did you Google?
we did all that.
Well, my car. So just to give you for instance, my car will search in the network for a charging station.
It'll build a trip.
Yeah, it'll build the trip based on where you're going, and it'll also tell you real time how many are open.
All right.
Right.
So as you're going, it'll be
Right.
like 17 are open, 12 are open.
Let me
10
tell you
are
what.
open, 8 are open. What? It's back to 10 open.
I would be right now for the President of the United States to declare that there should be a Buc-ee's every 200 miles. And I know that Daniel hates Buc-ee's.
I hate Buc-ee's, yeah.
But
We've
when
talked
we were
about
coming
this.
back, we hit the Buc-ee's in a little town in Alabama, Eden, Alabama or whatever, and it was a lifesaver because we were able to go and get a really fast charge, whatever. The funny thing is you think the cost is really less. It isn't, because the charging stations are like, we got lucky. Like, we charged 3 times. It cost us like $7 each time. But that last 2, one was $40 and one was like $28. So it came out to be about half the money I spent on fuel. But I also had to add 7 hours of charging time to my 11-hour trip.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. That's
they
the
get
killer,
you with
right?
peak electricity,
Yeah.
the time spent.
And let me hit you with something else. Here's the real wrinkle that nobody tells you about electric cars that makes them extremely
Like limited.
unreliable and limited. Here's what it is. They hate cold weather. All right.
Oh, yeah, you lose a charge on that.
Because the car is actually programming you to say, hey, bud, you might want to turn your heat off unless you want to walk, because your heat is killing your battery. So to create heat for these things takes a lot of power and wattage, as opposed to using a little bit to spin a compressor to create AC.
Okay.
Right, so it's like when you turn on your blow dryer or that electric fan, you can see the lights dim a little bit in your house.
Yeah.
Those things pull so much wattage that that it's a heat sink. It's just creating heat. So
And naturally, it degrades your battery, too. So like
100%.
Tesla people up in Alaska, Tesla people up north get less of a, like, that's why
Battery
it's
life?
perfect for me.
Yeah,
living
yeah.
in Orlando, Florida,
You
hot
can't-
as hell. Like, I got
around the city, you cannot beat it. Around, if you live rurally and you drive like 100 miles a day, maybe even that's what Tori drives, you cannot beat it. It is the greatest thing. I haven't paid for gas since September of 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it's
great.
awesome. Here's the other thing you need to remember if you're getting one of these things and you plan on doing over-the-road trips, which I do not agree with right now until
I
they
agree.
get this.
It's not there.
For one thing, when you plug it into a charger, your car will not go into gear. So you're a sitting duck to criminals, and if you plug in and you're sitting there and you're trying to drive overnight and you're sitting in some podunk town trying to get a charge somewhere and it's the middle of the night, criminals now know you can't leave. The car will not go into gear with it plugged in. Like if I was at a gas station and somebody tried me, I could theoretically hop in my car and haul ass. Right? I mean, there's going to be some gas everywhere, but at least I'm not dead. But
I
right
thought
now,
I was paranoid.
But
Like, if you're plugged in, you just have to sit there while the person's
Listen,
raping you.
We're in a Kroger outside of Atlanta, and it gets real interesting around like 11:30, 12 o'clock in some of those neighborhoods in Atlanta. And that's where we had to be because it was the only available charger. Here's the real
Andre
twist.
3000's out there playing his flute.
Yeah.
He's fluting all right.
Who wants to get killed to bad jet for a
Yeah.
toll?
And I can tell you're rich from a
Right.
quarter mile away.
Well, the other thing too is these cars aren't very cheap, so people automatically assume if you have an
Sure.
electric car
Yeah,
that there's gonna be some good stuff inside. Here's the thing they don't tell you the most, and this is what you're gonna learn: the cars are smart. And when I say smart, the mileage that you drive in Central Florida, flat land, mostly very climate happy area, you're gonna get maximum value out of your 304 to 320 mile charge, right? Now, take that same vehicle into northern Mississippi where it's extremely hilly, and then have it go down a hill and then go up a 90-foot hill, and then go down and go back up a 90-foot hill. Your charge now is not 320 miles. Guess what it is? It's 240 miles. Because the car learned that it's now in a different environment and it needs more power to go that same distance, and it calculates how much it can take and how much you can get out of the battery based on your environment.
Well, you must have been great on this trip and never complained. And like, I'm sure you and Tori never fought, and everything was great, right? Like, it was a really fun time, and you were like a nice guy, and typical Jimmy just
At least the destination is worth it. A good old Missouri.
Mississippi.
You mean Mississippi?
Even
Oh.
Worse.
Yeah, it is worse.
We almost had 2 Thelma and Louise moments on overpasses. I'm going to be honest with you. We held
really?
hands. We held hands and closed our eyes and let God take the wheel. And
man.
unfortunately,
What's the longest you had to sit for a charge?
Unfortunately, the electric car took over and kept us in track. The irony of it all.
What's the longest you had to sit for a charge?
Hour and 10 minutes.
That's not that bad, though.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's
but
bad, but
when you want to get home,
bad.
it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
When it's 9 o'clock in the morning, you've been on the road since 12 the day before. It's pretty bad.
So Jimmy, let's talk poker for a second.
Let's talk poker, buddy.
because
They were getting a
When
game
are you going
going.
to another poker night, buddy?
well,
Well, he
hasn't
gets
been invited.
He gets it. The ass he hasn't.
No. I thought you said. I thought you said we're
ass.
never inviting him.
Oh my God, he gets invited every week. He comes up with some
every week?
Scott
bullshit
Maxwell said he
excuse.
doesn't. Scott Maxwell said he doesn't understand why you're not there anymore. He salivates to take your money.
Oh,
So Jimmy, I would like to get better at poker, and I'm sure you.
Well, you gotta go.
You spent Well,
Time spent.
I started listening to some poker books, and then
Super System.
but no, it was.
That's the one you should read.
I think
Doyle Brunson's
That's it.
classic poker.
That's exactly it. Super System is Brunson's book. It's considered
it?
the Bible of poker.
So, but even like as I'm listening to these books and stuff, I keep going back to there's no
business like show business.
there's no other way than to actually play and reps when it comes to getting better at
You're
poker.
gonna have to start going to Tampa, man.
and, you just need
And
to put in
online,
the time.
and online isn't really going to make you any better. If
I was
you
going to
play-
ask, is online?
If
No.
you're playing free
No.
poker online, it does not make
Fake
you any
money.
better.
you're playing differently.
Because people are just donkeys. They don't care. They're not really playing the game. They're just calling because it's fun. They're looking. It's them not watching Facebook or going through social. That's
You're
their
right.
that's their social media is playing poker. They don't care about winning really. They just want to be in the hands. So you can't really get a gauge of how it's going to go. Even though I play it still just because of something to do. Exactly what I just said. But if you want to learn, you got to go play live. That's the only way you'll really learn how to play against people is learning tendencies, watching twitches. You've got 1,000 tells. 1,000.
Get out of here, Jimmy. I got no tells.
That's the meanest
bullshit.
thing you could say to him, Jimmy.
No,
Look, you stopped his confidence.
No. Jimmy,
What's his number one tail? Is it smashing his forehead right here? That usually means he's got an erection. He's trying to get it to go away.
He also will rub his nipples when he's
No,
Yeah.
okay. Well, no.
He will. He'll
Well,
do this.
the last time me and Jimmy played poker, I didn't realize I was being led into the meat grinder
Yeah.
of all
Yeah.
guys that were like, I thought
Dinner-
this
it
was a
was a
friendly home game.
dinner for schmucks
where I'll talk
scenario.
shit and talk about banging our wives. It was just some
Yeah.
guy talk.
Some good
So
old,
what'd you talk about?
I was talking about that, and then they took all my money, and then I had to borrow money from Jimmy, and then pay him back.
wife, guys.
I had to go slip money into his mail slot in the morning, like
my
a piece
God.
of shit. And then I realized they took me for all I had. Anyway,
Well, we have a friend that is running a little game right
I
now.
know.
And that's the one, and I think there's a game either tomorrow night or next Tuesday. I think it may be tomorrow night.
See you next Tuesday. You got invited to the cunt game?
Let me guess, you can't do it tomorrow night?
Well,
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, he can. Can he bring Max and Tommy?
No, you won't.
Just bring
No.
$200
Just
and
bring
come on.
Max.
Don't
Just
bring
Max.
because
Money
if he
Man Max.
loses,
Do not bring Max.
No,
There-
I'm not
there-
bringing my
very
kids.
upset.
Tommy, bring
No.
Tommy.
No.
Tommy's old enough to learn.
Tommy don't give a damn.
Yeah.
It's just telling Crystal I'm going to play poker tonight. I'm not going to help you with any of the.
Don't tell her that. Tell her you need to
nighttime
help me
stuff.
here at the studio. Tell lie. I'll cover for
She
you.
says you don't help with that anyway. She says you just make egg sandwiches. at
Yeah,
night.
tell her I'm
yeah,
at
yeah,
tell her
egg
I'm at the
sandwiches.
studio working on
He
something.
makes
You need
his
to help
boys
me.
egg sandwiches.
Are they
at
in
like
jail?
9 p.m. at night.
No,
Yeah. When they don't eat their dinner and the kitchen's closed, he feels bad for them. He says they're starving, so he goes and fries them up an egg sandwich.
That's good. Good man.
That's true. He's a good dad.
Well, I need to be harder on them. That's my.
They'll only
one-
be with you if who knows? You could
Yeah,
die
yeah.
tomorrow. You're gonna wish you were cooking those egg sandwiches in heaven.
No. It's about I need to have them follow the rules of you don't eat what's you're given.
Well, there is
There's,
that.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
Like
There
that's
is that.
what's gonna
Yeah.
make them better. That's how Jimmy grew up. That's how he worked so
Yeah.
hard.
If you don't eat in prison,
Either like
Yeah, you think he was getting egg
yeah, he was like
sandwich?
shucking corn on some Polack
Yeah.
front porch.
If
He
you-
tells me like the
That's
goddamn
true.
beans.
If you do not eat in prison,
told me about it.
The guards will not make you an egg
Yeah.
sandwich later. That is true.
You think that's what gave you your work ethic, or you think you were born with it? Like, because your old man had a work ethic. Like,
Yeah,
it feels like
like-
everybody in your house. Like, I don't know. Like, that's what, Jimmy. This is what's been bothering me since the day my sons were born. Where I've been like, is it going to be me that instills into them what I want them to be, or is it already there and I just have to provide an
manage it.
environment
Yeah.
that's like a healthy environment that they feel safe and they can
I
whatever.
saw
but
all your
they're-
kids. They all look great.
But
Yeah,
who
they're
they
amazing.
are is who they are,
Yeah.
and it's like the work ethic they're born with, and like obviously you can help them, but it's like I'm not going to do much to change who they are.
What's your
and
thoughts
what they're
on
gonna
that?
be.
My thing was
we kicked that around a lot.
the shame of not working. was the motivator because you couldn't not work in my house. That was the most shameful thing you could do is be lazy.
Okay.
Like I would rather you steal from them than not have a job, just because you aren't pulling your weight. And one of my dad's mantras, and even though my father and I have had our problems for many years, one of his mantras was pull your weight, earn your way. Pay your way. That's the number one thing. Be self-sufficient so that you can make sure nobody depends on you. And my kids right now are terrified to be dependent. They are. They don't like the idea of it. I mean, and my kids rarely ask me for anything. I mean, mostly it's like tickets and stuff like that or events. It has nothing.
That's silly stuff.
Not
real
I
stuff.
asked you for that.
Yeah, come on.
Wait a minute, you got a line on tickets?
This is a ticket guy.
But not money stuff ever because we just kind of, hey, look, you got to pull your weight, man. You got to get up there and work. You're able-bodied. There's no reason you shouldn't have a job doing something and then apply yourself. So that's how it was. All my family were very blue-collar, worked very hard their entire lives, never had anything. So I didn't want to be that. So the combination of the shame of not working and seeing my family work their asses off and never have anything, never be able to go on vacation was the motivator to kind of make a different move than that.
So, what if your kids did ask you for money? Would you?
How much?
Would you
How much are we
tough
talking?
love? This is what I'm because when my sons that's what the egg sandwiches. They're like, I'm hungry. Like they didn't eat their dinner, and then I cave and just make them an egg sandwich. But that I should be like, you
Okay,
didn't
what
eat
if
your
they're
dinner.
like, I need $10,000. and
give them whatever
what
they
if they're
want.
like, I lost my laptop and I was smoking crack.
Right.
I'll be like, oh, he really wants the crack. I gotta
give him the
to
crack.
I pawned the family jewelry.
Well, what were you doing? I was getting blown by a hooker. All right, well, I'll help you delete it. It's fine. What did you call me, Mr. Big? Oh, no.
It would be dependent on what it is.
Yeah.
If they got themselves in a situation where they were spending too much money and they wanted money to make up a hole they dug, I wouldn't really help them there. I'd give them some advice about how to get out of it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't give you money to dig yourself out of a hole. If something happened and you needed money, your car broke down and you were short that month, no problem whatsoever. But not anywhere like, hey, I went out and bought this purse and I thought I could cover it and now I can't. I would not do that. They would just have to learn a lesson on that.
I have to struggle with Maisie doing that. We're trying to teach her that now where she'll be at like Target and she's like, her new thing now is she's like, I'll be like, hey, I'm zipping up to Target. Anybody need anything? And she'll be like, I'll go. I'm bringing my purse. And then she keeps all of her money in a little wallet. She's got like her gift cards and all of her money in her wallet. And she'll be, she saves it, but it's a lot. And she'll get there and she'll be like, I'm going to get 70 jars of slime. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I'm like arguing with her. I'm like, I don't know. 70 jars of slime's kind of a dumb thing to do. You may like trying to and then she'll think about it. Okay. And then she ends up getting nothing, but she's kind of like her mom. She ends up getting nothing.
Oh, they're just
Like,
saving it.
There's
Store this
what
away.
are you saving it for?
As
Right.
a kid, I got classically conditioned on this move. This is a good poor parent move. Is when I would be like, Mom, I really want this, whatever. Hey, put it on your birthday list. Put it on your Christmas list.
I do that now.
That's a way to say no, not right now, but also don't give up hope that you can't get
Right,
it. And I would
right.
immediately run and put it on my birthday list or my
Yeah.
Christmas list, or I'd forget it altogether.
And it means more because you got to wait for it.
Yeah.
Right, and it was-
I do worse. I go get on your hands and knees in front of the elf.
And start praying to the elf.
And I go, you
He's
know
your
what I do?
God.
I go, close your eyes and say it softly in the elf voice.
Yeah.
Jimmy, have you? I remember the last time we talked to you at Drive Shack about golf, and you were trying to play more, trying to get better. Are you still doing it? Are you
Yeah.
still
You're playing good, aren't you?
Playing right well up until I just got these new irons. I was playing the best golf I've ever played in my life, but then I just made an iron switch because I felt like I'd capped out with the equipment I had and what I could do. So I upgraded to some equipment for a little bit better player. I'm in the process now of kind of learning those yardages and stuff. But right now I play as a 3 handicap, which means if I play a normal 72 golf course, like a par 72 golf course, I will shoot anywhere from 75 to like 77.
all right?
great.
Is that really awesome?
That's pretty good.
It's
Okay.
consistently
for
good.
for an
yeah.
amateur who doesn't practice or play every day of my life, that's not bad at all. Like I'm pretty competitive in most spaces.
And to look the way that you look, I think, is the most impressive. It's kind of like Susan Boyle. Remember?
Why
Like
does
she'd
it
start
say that?
singing, and you'd be like, she has the voice of an angel, but the face of a monk.
But for a 56-year-old guy, I still hit it pretty far.
Yeah.
So and so that is one of those things where a lot of older guys, because they start losing movement, they can't make a move
That's
on
me.
it. I've been lucky enough to maintain enough health where I can still make a pretty good move on it and hit it pretty darn far.
I have the body of a boneless chicken breast now because my hips don't work.
What's your goal with golf?
So this year, it's funny you should say that. 2024. If you were to go to my Florida State Golf Association account and log in, the password is basically something to do with playing the senior amateur here in Florida.
Let's get in there and ruin his account
for 2024, right? And basically what it says is I'm trying to create a handicap and have a record of playing well, that when I go to qualify for one of these tournaments, like up at Heathrow or whatever, that all I have to do is shoot like maybe 75, 76 or so to get in. That's what made it in last year. And then go have a legitimate, real deal, sanctioned golf tournament feel, where
That's
you have
cool.
like markers and ropes up and people there to watch and stuff. Because these
You got a
amateur
caddy with you?
I don't know about that, buddy. To be honest with you,
Get a black caddy too.
I'm not 100%.
Yeah, you gotta
One of
a
your
whole.
boys be a caddy.
Just go. No, you
Get
just
to
gotta go
work.
traditional black caddy,
Yeah.
Bagger Vance. Have him dressed in the old-fashioned clothes and everything. Actually, dust him up real big. Put some powder on him like he's a black ghost.
Right.
People will love it.
Let me say this about golf real quick, because I think this is very important. This is going to sound ridiculous, almost like a public service announcement. So I do believe one of the most important things you can do for your kids, because I know a lot of your audience are in that age where they have kids that are like that, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old range, right? Like you guys, right?
Yeah.
Like mid-40s guys, right?
Yeah. I'm older than that.
Get your kid involved with a sport of some sort. It is one of the best things you can do as a parent is to get your child involved with some sport. Tennis, polo, swimming.
Most of our listeners have their children in cornhole.
Right.
What do you think of that?
Soccer.
What do you think about
I
a
love
cornhole?
It's great.
Cornhole for kids.
Right. So
All case, cornhole for kids.
it teaches it helps you as a parent so much, because those positions you're taking at home are getting reinforced by your coaches, because it's kind of the same thing, right? These coaches
Pickleball.
become like almost what's
Molesters.
Oh, stop.
A lot of them, though,
like
right?
secondary parents, like good
Yeah, like a
teachers do
mentor.
sometimes.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
mentors.
yeah.
Good job. That's exactly what it is.
Mentors.
And I'm telling you, I think golf is one of the best. And the reason why is because the integrity of the game matters. You learn how to play with integrity. You keep your own score. You're your own judge.
That's true.
And it's very competitive, and it puts you in a world of people who think a little differently, right? It's not like football where everybody's kind of bruiser kind of mentality. I'm just going to crush your mentality. People who play this game are thinkers. It's a tough game to play.
Get
It's
you in
hard.
line with the great gay thinkers of their generation.
So I would do that. My son broke my heart when he stopped playing golf and went to wrestle. For Lake Howell High School. It broke my heart because
What's up, brother?
He was a natural, and thank God he's starting to play again with me now. But had he just kept on track, man, he'd have been very, very good.
Isn't Detective Barb's boys
Oh,
really
man,
good, right?
he's destroying.
He's got the bug.
He's destroying.
He's like.
But it's also good to have somebody who can take you all over the world to play golf.
Yeah, that's true. But he wakes up in the morning to read the scores. What's the scores?
Yeah.
He's
The number one
obsessed
thing
with-
there at that age is just keeping them interested.
Yeah.
Although
True.
the golf people that I know that are super into it, they're addicted to it. They're so addicted to it that they spend their life trying to get better at it, and then I'm like, it seems like you're wasting your life. What is this done? Like you
It's
spend
like
a lot of
jujitsu.
money.
That's their hobby.
Yeah.
Some might say the same about your gambling.
Golf is jujitsu.
Or
It's
your
like
plans.
you'll never get.
You gotta
you'll
spend
never
time
get
doing
where you want.
something.
You never will,
No.
right? You'll never get there. But that's the beauty of it. Really, is you're always trying to achieve. You're trying to shoot that great score. You're playing against other people in match play. I just love it because it's competitive, and I have a competitive thing that my body can't do with other stuff like baseball and stuff. So I compete at golf, and it keeps
That's
that
cool.
sharp. Same reason I do like crossword puzzles and stuff, just to keep me as sharp as I possibly can.
I'm
Get.
surprised you and Ross, a gentleman on your show, most of our listeners listen
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
but Ross Padgett, I'm surprised you guys don't team up together and just put out a blanket challenge for any listener duo.
Stay tuned.
Will never beat you. I would make it a show bit where I'm like, it's like the Jim Colbert
Does Ross play golf too?
$100,000. Oh, and he's
Yeah.
he's a beast.
Yeah, Ross is great. His mom played
She's a champ,
in
right?
3 female U.S. Opens.
Really?
Yeah, his mom's that's what she does for a living, and his father played on the PGA Tour with
Yeah,
like
they're
Palmer
like-
and those guys.
Oh no!
There-
Shit. Oh,
it's
so
in
he
the-
grew up a golfer.
It's in the DNA,
Yeah.
and with a long stork body like that, I bet you he can just straight bang it.
He hits it
dude.
good, man. I mean, Ross is a good player. He and I are about the same. He's about a 3 handicap.
Nice.
He plays pretty good golf, and he plays on good golf courses. So it's not like we're shooting 75 or 76 or 7 at donkey places. We're playing
Yeah.
pretty good golf courses.
I got it.
I bet I'll just say that they're the best. You cannot beat Ross and Jimmy.
I would like our chances against any other radio duo in the city.
Oh yeah,
maybe
it should
in the
be
state.
a thing. It should be like no one can beat you.
Maybe
Yeah.
in the
Not
state.
even of any syndicated program. Anybody, nobody can beat Ross and Jimmy.
We're working on some golf stuff for 2024 for JCS. So
Nice.
Oh,
man.
cool. Yeah,
that'll be killer.
I was about to ask you if you should do some sort of golf tournament. I mean, people, they all play.
Yeah, they deemed them not profitable about 5 or 6 years ago, and basically stopped really even having conversations about them. For some reason, here recently, they've kind of rekindled their I mentioned it last year about doing something, and they seem very receptive. So, I don't know why. I'm not going to ask questions, but they're having a conversation now. So we're in the process of trying to find a golf course to partner up with us to do something special, maybe right before summer. Before it gets too unbearable, and the golf rates go down to the point where we can afford it, because that's the problem in Florida. You can't do it in the spring or fall because the rates go through the roof. Everything goes up like 35, 40%.
Drew Garabo had that old nighttime golf tournament where it was just an excuse for him to get out there with glow-in-the-dark balls and strippers, and it would just be naked people running around. Oh, my God, it was disgusting.
There were some really crazy stories that came out of that.
Well, Jimmy,
bad things.
I'll tell you off the air.
Yeah, like legit bad things.
off the air, off the air.
I can't tell you on the air because somebody
this is not even there. This is a digital internet.
No, it doesn't matter.
I'll tell you, one of the strippers pee-peed in the cup.
In the hole?
In the cup.
There were some influential people there.
She did
Does it drain or does it stay in there?
Drains.
No, it drains. It drains. Come on, it rains.
Do you put your ball into the pee
I
hole?
would. I'd let it dry. Or I'd put a shirt over it so the ball doesn't touch the bottom of the cup.
Well, let's end with this, Jimmy, because
let's do.
For I'm
trying to get the hell out of here.
Like, what the?
It's got to get to work.
I'm fascinated, and I want to do a documentary one day on.
Oh, you always say you ain't doing no documentary.
On yourself and your
You
stunts?
ain't doing no
No,
documentary.
Yeah, well,
The junkie documentary?
Well,
Are we back to that?
Don't call him that. God almighty.
That's what he wanted it to be. He wanted it to be a drunkie documentary.
Well, more about how the
Doesn't
hell
everybody secretly want a documentary about themselves? It does everybody.
Well, the best ones do.
I do not.
I'm fascinated with how they let me do this shit in a billion-dollar corporation, and then also even looking back at the old radio days of the crazy shit that used to happen, and how a company
Jimmy's been a
let
part
it
of
go,
plenty of it. He's
let it
been
happen.
firing guns in areas he shouldn't be firing guns in. I shouldn't be talking about.
How do you think it happened, Jimmy?
Allegedly.
I go back and I joke around about this a lot with Sam and Dan about how they let me jump a fucking monster truck and in front of 70,000 people at Monster Jam with Live Nation. There's a $1 billion corporation, and then iHeart or Clear Channel at the time, that's a $1 billion corporation. All the bosses are there watching me do it, and then they just let it happen. Some fucking intern or some part-time employee. If I was the boss, I'd be like, well, we can't do this shit. It's insane.
It seems though
and then
it seems like it's a collection of people just turning a blind eye.
And even now it's kind of weirder, that, because of other situations that have come up to the station where they're like, no, we can't do that because it puts people at risk or whatever. I'm like, what? Hold on.
It is bizarre.
We had a guy in that St. Johns River, one of the most gator-infested places on planet Earth, and he was swimming in a rug suit. I mean, could have drowned or been eaten at any moment. Yeah. That was perfectly fine. By the way, that was one segment for a show. One segment in a 5-hour show.
Yeah, it was 12 minutes.
Right.
Well, you were involved with some crazy shit
buried
back
a man
in the
in
day.
concrete.
And, we were talking to Tuttle about the concrete.
Sam, insane. I still get anxiety looking through that. Think about looking through that peephole and him laying down there 10 feet.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how the ammonia, because that's what they use to seal that concrete up to get it to dry.
He just talked to Tuttle about
Jimmy,
this.
he just told me something I didn't know.
That it was so overwhelming. It was burning his eyes.
You may not know this.
Are you kidding me?
You may not know this.
Poor guy.
And it would have taken an hour and a half to get him out because it never sealed, so they were trying to break it up with concrete, and the sledgehammers were just sinking in the mush. It's insane.
If Tuttle would have died, everybody would have been fired.
Oh, yeah. They'd have changed it. I mean, you've been listening to Christian 104.
You know what that is?
The radio station would have gone.
That's a market president gone. That's everybody.
Everybody goes.
That's everybody goes. Did you know?
How do they take the chance?
Tuttle told me this, and I talked to him just yesterday. We were texting. Did you know that he told us this? I had never known this, that you and me, I think Russ, everybody else is over there. We were in Charlie's Steakhouse. We knew Bill Dan Beaver, the general manager there, I think passed away.
Yep, God bless his
Bill
soul.
Dan was rolling out, literally, I had my own lobster tail, and we're eating like kings.
Bananas.
Did you know, while the ammonia is burning his eyes, he started crying, and he was trying to claw. He was clawing and crying while we were eating steak. Well, I felt terrible. I'm sorry, dude. We didn't know. I didn't know he cried.
I got a palpitation.
Yeah, I didn't know he was crying. I didn't know it was that bad.
So
he's tough.
But just to circle back around to our conversation at the beginning of the show with you've been doing this for 30 years. It's crazy that because like in the radio career, there's all because you constantly have to take these chances for ratings, and especially back in the 90s and like early
or you
2000s.
think you do.
Yeah, like, but that was a constant. So think about all the chances you took that, like, one's false. Like, even, dude, if I would have paralyzed myself or fucked myself up jumping those, like, I think, like, for sure, I told Crystal, like, sue everybody if I die.
Oh, yeah, well, you'd be loaded. I'm not gonna do a podcast with a handicap.
But everybody would have fired. Like, you know, you start looking at all these chances, which even makes it more impressive that you've been doing this for 30 years in one market, because all the chances that were taken, all like the crazy shit that went on for 30 fucking years, and you made it through the gauntlet.
It sort of makes you think nothing matters, right? A little bit.
No, but in all other scenarios, like, so many people are fired, even just leaving their mic on, and like, you know, with you guys strippers back in the day with poo-poo beads, so many.
You guys strippers with poo-poo. What are you?
I've said it on
before my time.
I've said on the air before. If I were to sit for a few hours and tell you all the stuff that happened on that radio show, that it would be hard to believe. Like it's so crazy. It would be hard for me to tell you the truth because it would be just natural for you to go, no way that happened. And I would tell you, not only did it happen, multiple witnesses every single time.
And I think we're all relatively normal.
It's recorded.
People,
we had a former intern set his house on fire and then shoot himself in the front yard of that burning house.
I remember
that.
that.
My God.
Yeah.
That happened.
I remember that.
That's an incident.
First to report that, Melissa Fox.
I mean,
now she does videos where her teeth fall out on TikTok. What the hell is happening? What's going on? And I got a kid. You got kids. Jimmy's damn near 1 foot in his forever home.
Jimmy, well, just how did they let you guys and everything, even me doing these stunts? How did the corporation let it happen? It was just
money.
Yeah.
They're
It's not even
making
that much.
ass loads of money, Don. Tom.
You know what, Tom?
Yes.
Oh my God,
ass loads of money. That's a T-shirt. Ass loads of money, Don. That's the show name.
That was a portmanteau between Daniel and Tom.
We're
I apologize.
Don, we should make. You know what? I'm gonna have AI. I'm gonna take AI, combine our bodies, and it's Don. And that's what we're gonna do. Like Kiss. You know, Kiss has the new avatars. Kiss has the new avatars. We're gonna live forever as one guy named Don.
But they risked more money than they made off of stupid.
Well,
these
theoretically,
stunts.
they didn't because they didn't
Yeah,
have to pay
they
any of the
didn't.
risk money.
I know you don't like. I say this to him sometimes, and he doesn't like this, but I'm gonna say it again. I seriously think that it's as simple as nobody wants the headache. So if you just put it out of your mind and be like, yeah,
put your
that's
head in the
fine.
sand, yeah.
You just
Put
go
your
like,
chance.
it's fine.
Just Whopper's situation.
No, yeah. All this crazy
that's
shit.
terrible.
If I sit somebody down and go, hey, man, I'll tell you this story, and then I run the Whopper story to you, you're going to think I'm nuts. You're going to say, that's no way that happened in front of 3,500 people. That was a sold-out show without question, and they would never believe it. You're telling me a grown man was dragged across a stage by his testicles in a scooter with another fat guy that could barely walk?
Yeah.
Yes, that happened in
and
front
it
of me.
injured him so bad he was impotent. If you sat down with
Jimmy,
Big Boss Barb right now and told her that, what would she do? Would she pass out?
I don't
fall
even
over?
know.
I got choked so badly I stopped breathing. I
That's
turned
true.
purple.
I forgot about that one
Deb's
too.
case saved your life.
And
That's true. I forgot about that.
Well, actually, I think the wizard is the one that grabbed the chains once it got back onto. I was dead.
Man.
I was dead. Hey, this on video. And then I knocked myself out later, which I won't remember my grandkids' names
Buddy,
in the future.
The one that looked the worst was that one at the. Were you at the bar out back where you fell off the pole? You climbed to the top of the pole and you fell off the pole with the resin chip.
That
was
thought he
all
was
crazy.
dead. I thought he was dead.
Like, if you went to the doctor and be like, oh my God, how long has this guy been playing rugby? Sorry, he's a radio clown.
You fell next to me, and I heard your body hit the ground.
Well, it's nuts.
TC, I will tell you that
It's nuts.
That night at Hard Rock,
Oh,
that may be the singular most insane night of my career. That night that happened to Whopper, and then that same night. It was the trash can, right?
Yeah,
that knocked you unconscious.
Maybe all of us. No. He got the chain wrapped around his head. He was in the trash can.
Yeah, that was the first time. Then I tried to do like a front gainer off a stool, and then I knocked myself out.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, it was pandemonium. Like, where were the adults? Like, no one came in.
They were at the ticket office.
But by the way, Jimmy, a funny story.
Counting the money.
Is when we did our podcast at Hard Rock, for our documentary and everything years ago, I met with some head person of Hard Rock, and then we sat down and we were talking about
my God, yeah.
and then she was like, all right, cool, and then we were making the deal for the she's like, all right, cool. She's like, I just want to make sure that you're just doing a podcast and nothing else crazy is going on.
Crazy.
She's like, because one time we had this radio station, and this guy was getting pulled by his testicles, and this other guy knocked himself out. And I'm sitting there just
We're like, yes.
And I'm like,
Definitely
did you
not
tell
us.
her?
Yeah.
Did you ever tell her?
No,
Oh,
no,
good.
I was like,
Thank God you're
what?
not doing it now.
I was like,
Like,
did
you,
you
you
what?
don't have anything to worry about with
That
us.
lady was sitting on that great
I was
couch.
like-
She walked out, and we all sat here, and then we just
I'll
everybody quiet. Is she
I'll-
gone? Is there Uber? Did her Uber drive away? Okay, we're good.
I was like, that's crazy.
Who would do that?
man, that's crazy.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But so then it's further miraculous that you've had this career for 30
Yeah,
years.
it
plus.
is, buddy. Listen,
Like, it's nuts. you know.
nobody's more thankful or humble than I am when it comes to this. That's why I pay it no attention. You guys know at my house, there's no like monster stuff or Jim Colbert show stuff. I've got a small
You have
area
a nice house.
where I keep some stuff.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
You,
the
don't-
way
you
to
build
do it.
that
Yeah.
wall. You build that wall at that doorway or at the radio station, and
Boundaries,
you live that
yeah.
life, and then you live that life. Because once
Yeah.
those two blend together, you get some real interesting scenarios that don't really turn out very
Oh,
positive.
or then you're Bonaducci, running in cowboy boots, which I always wanted to be. By the way,
You're riding
Like,
an electric skateboard
like,
with
I
no
may-
shirt on in cowboy boots with a shot of G. You're doing G shots.
Like if me and Daniel go full Bonaducci,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I think we could take it
I
to the
might.
next level.
I start my testosterone injections tomorrow.
Awesome. Good for you, dude.
And I'm getting both my hips injected. Then I'm getting my testosterone injections.
Why is it the craziest people are the most ripped?
Dude,
that guy,
he
that guy
just
is,
announced his retirement this morning.
Did he really?
I swear to God.
Here's the magic. It's like from what? What's he
From
retiring
radio.
From crazy.
Well, he was still on radio.
Yeah, he was still on radio.
Just
Serious?
bounced all around.
Are
yeah.
you serious?
Yeah,
I thought that
yeah.
guy was literally like living on the street.
No, he'll get your
He
ratings.
did just have to sell his house because
That-
he had brain surgery.
Oh yeah.
brain surgery. Yeah,
Yeah.
testosterone will swell your brain.
He had a morning show,
yeah.
the Danny Bonaducci and Sarah morning show in Seattle.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's
A
retiring.
lot of hot takes on that.
Oh yeah.
It's weird. It's
Yeah.
like it just ended up in Seattle doing some morning show. Like,
that's
what,
what we
what do
do.
you know about Seattle?
They're
Bonaducci?
all still on.
I
All
know.
of those guys are still on.
I
You just
know.
don't know where they're at.
Right.
But I can't imagine doing could you imagine Jimmy doing a show in a different city and then pretending like you know about it or whatever?
Oh, that's what happens at Lex and Terry show does that, right?
No,
yeah, that
no.
one of them lives in like South Dakota, and the other one lives in like Texas, and they broadcast like they're out of Jacksonville, and they haven't seen each other. And like,
yeah.
that happens. I mean,
You got to be
weird.
honest about it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
you do. You have to just
You
be
have to
honest.
be like, I don't know what's happening. I'm the new guy. What's up? Yeah.
Anyway, well, Jimmy.
Well, Don,
Plug
this has been
something.
great.
Plug something. Plug something. You got anything to
Yeah,
plug?
just listen to the Jim Colbert Show 3 to 7 every day at Real Radio 104.1. That's the best thing you can do if you want to check us out online. We do the stream there. We're trying to build those numbers, and it's JimColbertLive.com.
Well, Jimmy, thanks for
Yeah,
coming
we
by.
love you, buddy.
appreciate
Good
it.
Love you
seeing
guys.
you.
You're the best.
All right, we will see you on the OG recap.